Okay, I can't lie. It has been 4 months. Yes, you heard me. Over 4 months since I've done an update on the new and upcoming game, Manor Lords. People have been asking, I've heard you guys, I've seen in the comments, don't you worry. People have been asking, what's been going on? We've not heard any updates, no new news on what this Manor Lords game is about. But don't you worry, because I am back. I'm going to be running over what we've seen in the last few months that has been released by Slavic Magic, the developer of this medieval strategy game, and what we can expect from the future that has been hinted from Slavic Magic themselves. So without further ado, finally we're back in the world of Manor Lords. If anyone is new to the channel or is just new to this type of game, to give a quick overview, Manor Lords is an upcoming game that is set in the medieval period. It is a strategy game that you could almost call a colony and town builder, however, it goes much deeper than that. It's sort of been compared as a Banished meets Total War type game, where you have to build up your villages, of course, creating productions depending on which regions you settle in. Some lands may be catered more towards agriculture, growing wheat, harvesting, milling, and making bread. This can then be used to feed your people or trade to other regions. Other regions may be better when it comes to mining iron that can then be made in a blacksmith into weapons and armor. Of course, all these resources can be traded with each other. Not only are there the possibilities that in the future we could be having multiple towns per player, but this will all be going on in this living, breathing world run by the AI King. You can choose whether you want to appease them, do as they ask, become friends with other counts or make enemies, recruit peasants and villagers to go to war with pitchforks, or even train them up to be better swordsmen, cavalry, or even archers. You can then go and fight for territory, taking over different regions that might have the resources you want, or just getting revenge for some dirty tactics that someone played on you in the past. If you want full in-depth coverage of everything we've spoken about of Manor Lords so far, I will link down in the description to a playlist that I have created for the Manor Lords videos I have created up to this point. But it's been away for some time. As I mentioned, there hasn't really been many updates, and unless you've been around the Manor Lords Discord, they've not really shown anything that interesting, or at least nothing big enough to make its own video on. However, we have seen some cool new screenshots. Things like beekeeping will be coming to the game. Being able to keep your own apiaries, another resource that can be traded or used to feed your colonists. Now, this game has been famed, and the reason this is so hyped at the moment is how much attention to detail is going into it. And let me remind you, being a one-person development team, this is mind-blowing stuff. Now, in many of these village/colony builders, you get some cool little mechanics that really make the world come alive, and that is no different in Manor Lords. Slavic Magic has been showing some of the naturally eroding paths that they've been working on within the mechanics of the game, where villagers that walk over bits of land frequently, for example, getting from their home to a forest where they're lumberjacking wood, if they start to move over those areas of land frequently enough, it will become eroded and paths will be created dynamically through time and your gameplay. Another cool thing is actually quite big news, the fact that DLSS is coming to Manor Lords, the new NVIDIA RTX Deep Learning Super Sampling, meaning that if you have an RTX graphics card, the game will be rendered in a lower resolution, for example 1080p, and using this deep learning super sampling upscale to 4K, so to your eyes you will barely notice any difference at all, but the performance enhancement you get from it is something else. I have made a couple of videos using DLSS on specifically Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord in the past, and you can see from those videos the leap in frames per second you get, and you can't even notice any degradation to the actual resolution itself. This is something that's quite exciting, you see, because NVIDIA, being such a big company, has been focusing on the big games like Battlefield, Mount and Blade, big AAA companies. But DLSS coming to Manor Lords is something that's quite special. You see, this is an indie developer. NVIDIA could have just passed over like many other massive companies do when giving their technology out to these smaller game development teams. But no, DLSS will be coming to Manor Lords. We have some more information about how roads work. Of course, you can see the beautiful way that the mechanics of placing down these roads are laid out. But as mentioned previously, peasants don't really need to use these roads. They can create their own paths using the natural erosion system. However, if you do want to increase your movement efficiency, roads will increase a peasant's speed or even an army's speed when moving from one place to another. You can of course also kind of direct the route you want them to take. Maybe the peasants are sort of making their own path to their work, but you don't really want them to go that way. So putting roads down will change the way that they move, making them more efficient in some places. Additionally, traveling merchants that will be taking resources and trade from one town to to another can only use these roads. So they are really important to create that network in order to change the way trade flows around the entire map. You can have influence just by the infrastructure that you build in your own town that will have knock-on effects in the wider area, and of course the map itself, which we know is going to be massive with multiple towns and cities scattered around. All this road placement that you can see is entirely free-flowing. There is no grid basis, so you can create to your heart's content. Speaking of merchants though, they travel around the map to different towns and cities as you would expect. As you'd probably worked out, you can purchase anything from grains to resources, iron ore, even now livestock. Of course, there is still a work in progress on how this is going to be implemented in the game, but if you want something like sheep or cattle, they will be brought to you by these merchants, and this ties back into the infrastructure you have within your town to how efficiently this is done. But by and by, you can also send out merchants of your own to trade with other towns that are owned by AI or other towns that you perhaps might own elsewhere. So what's the future? Well, Slavic Magic have said that there's a lot in development at the moment. You can see on their Twitter page how much work is going into all the screenshots and the little clips that are coming out. But I know the thing that most people want to see is the combat. However, I have to say that I don't think the combat is going to be the main part of this game. It's not going to be the main focus. Creating your own living, breathing, working medieval town is going to be the gameplay loop that you will get used to within this. Of course, you can go to war recruiting troops, but it is such a smaller aspect of it. This isn't another total war game. It's not going to be anything like that scale. However, hopefully we will see something in the near future about the combat once again. Slavic Magic has mentioned to me in DMs that they are working at the moment on late game towns. Whether that's going to be coming into full keeps, building walls around your area, I guess we're going to have to find out, but there is very much a scarce amount of information and footage that we have been given at this point in time. But I'll definitely be keeping you guys updated, so please make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want to see all that. But what's your favorite part of Manor Lords? What do you want to see next? If Slavic Magic is watching this video, which I know they do watch a couple of my videos, so make sure you leave your comments down below and they might have a cheeky look at what you guys are really wanting to see within the next few updates and screenshots and little clips and videos that they bring out soon. But please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Leave a dislike if you didn't. But until then, I will see you in the next one.